Well, hello, listeners, and welcome to Connecting the Dots with DelRo. I am your lovely host, Dylan Del Rosso, aka DelRo, and I am here to help showcase the power of networking, both professionally and personally. On this podcast, myself and my incredible guests will share our stories on how the art of connecting has shaped our lives and careers. We'll share our successes, failures, embarrassments, tips and tricks, once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, and much more. What I'm getting at here is we're all here to connect with each other genuinely. Doesn't sound that bad, right? Well, listen, you'll be hearing plenty of me, so let's get to it. Welcome to the show. Hey everybody, as you just heard on the intro, I am Dylan Del Rosso, and today on Connecting the Dots with DelRo, I am joined by the one and only Ash Ainbinder. Ash is the Director of Business Development for Clear and their sports vertical. Ash, how are you?
I'm wonderful. It's Wednesday, so I got like 2 more days till Friday, but that still doesn't mean I take a break. So we're good. We're good
Well,
here.
you know what? I think it's impressive just that you knew what day it was, because I know there are
I had to
times
think for a second.
right. There are times where we've spoken in the past and we've just coming up for air and we don't know where we're at. But Ashley, so happy to have you on the show. Me
Appreciate
and
it.
you, of course, are newer friends, and everybody who watches my podcast is just gonna be like, "Do you have nothing but new friends? Like, were you just friendless a year ago?" Yes, I
Yeah,
was.
same.
But, Ash, so yeah, you and I are newer friends, and of course, we've already accomplished so much as far as networking and connecting people goes. But um, in fact, I think we've been so busy getting shit done that as far as like a personal standpoint, we know a good amount about each other, but there's so much to it that I think we haven't even gotten to. So why don't you give me a refresher as well as the listeners and tell them a little bit about your story?
So it's funny because it took me a little bit of time to figure out the question, like, who is Ash? And then it kind of clicked. Do you know the song "You Can Call Me Al" by Paul Simon?
I
If I need
love
to play
Paul Simon,
if I
and
need
I'm
to play this
sure.
right now,
What's that?
I said if I need to play this right now, I will play this.
Listen, if you want to pull it up, get it going.
You know what? All
I'm a
right.
big Paul Simon fan. If I heard it, I bet I would know it, but I can't recognize it by title. You know what we can do? If you're pulling it up, great. If not, I'll have Tom, my editor, just throw it in here like right now or something. Like we can just.
Done. Okay.
All right, cool. I'll throw in a little tidbit in the episode. Nailed it. But what's your point?
So Paul Simon, as soon as like that first note hits, like that, like da, 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 da,
Oh, of
da,
course. All right,
yeah, okay, you know this song.
we're good.
Like, that's the vibe I'm trying to bring into a room here. So we'll just start with that.
All right, we're on the same
Yeah.
page. This is
So
gonna be
Paul
fun.
Simon vibes all the way. But who is Ash? So born and raised in New York, Long Island kid. Went to Hofstra, played ball at Hofstra there. Spent some time down in Tampa, had a blast, and I was like, damn, really miss New York, have to come back. Found myself back on Long Island, super close with my family, so it's great to be back here and kind of developing a new professional network in New York, which is different and out of the norm for me because it's always been family and friends and college and things like that. So it's been exciting to be back here. I am big on adventure and travel, obviously, given right now that's like not a thing, but I guess a fun fact, climbed Kilimanjaro like 2 years ago.
All right.
So
You got me beat.
that was pretty rad. That was like the first thing like climbing wise I ever done. I literally woke up on a Tuesday and I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And I booked a flight to Tanzania by myself. And 5 months later, I found myself at the base of Kilimanjaro.
What in the world?
I'm kind of a psychopath sometimes.
When was this? What year was that?
This was 2 years ago.
Oh, you said that.
Well,
Holy cow.
I guess now 3. So no, it was 2019.
All right. So that's pretty
You
spontaneous.
asked who is Ash.
No,
I think like that's a definition. Paul Simon and Kilimanjaro.
If you take anything away from this episode, it's just those two things right there. That is Ash. Ash, that's fantastic. I'm trying to think of like the most spontaneous thing I've ever done. I don't think I would have ended up in Tanzania. I went skydiving with my wife, Becky. We were engaged, I think, at the time, and she's like, let's go. We're going today. I'm like, all right, just don't tell my dad. You know, like if he knows that we're going, he'll show up.
and he'll stop the whole thing.
Yep.
Fantastic. So Ash, you hit on it right at the beginning of your intro. You grew up an athlete. Of course, I did as well. Baseball, softball. Even I think our schools rep the same colors. I mean, I'm rocking MU
Yeah.
right here.
You know, you got
Um,
it.
so what other sports did you play growing up, if any? And was softball the first love for you? Or?
So first love, but I got shoved in a couple ways along my path. My mom was actually on the US judo team. She could like literally kick my ass with her bare hands. My dad, big football guy, like your classic leatherhead when it comes to football. That is him. Nose tackle. I have a younger brother. So when I hit college, for me, my dad was like, well, high school, I should say. My dad was like, "Oh, you should go try out and play football. You should go and try out for the wrestling team." I was like, "Dad, relax. Like my brother will get here. Mike will come." But when I was younger, like I got pushed into judo, but that just wasn't for me. I ended up playing field hockey actually and volleyball as well. But ended up sticking with softball. Like that was just my MO and where I found my passion.
Awesome. Really cool. I grew up like I was baseball primarily, loved playing basketball, absolutely addicted to golf, but it was something about, baseball and obviously softball, the counterpart. Like, you know, I heard somebody say it, I'm sure you've heard this before. Something about hitting a round ball with a round bat squarely is like the hardest thing anybody can do.
Mind boggling.
Right. Now, I say that, frankly, I couldn't hit ever. I hung up the bat as soon as people started throwing curveballs. I started throwing them myself. That's about the only reason I made it to college, is because I was throwing from the left side. But very cool. So I actually I got a question for you. So I recently did like a speaking engagement, and I was asked like about being a college athlete and how it best prepared me for my career. And my answer was kind of two-pronged. I said, in long story short, you can't knock the hustle, right? Like those kids who worked hard, guess what? They were at the top of the lineup. They were your starting shortstop, and they were pitching every Friday. Like they were the hardest workers, and they were playing. So that was one thing I learned for sure. And then also to separate yourself from the competition. I was the hefty lefty just throwing knees and elbows at you, and I ended up having to drop it down to the side because freshmen were coming in throwing way harder than I was. And I was like, how do I kind of separate myself here? How do I get some innings? Because it ain't doing it over the top at 77 miles an hour. So tell me, again, sorry for the rant.
No,
there,
you're good.
People know that happens.
Good segue.
So tell me how being a college athlete best prepared you for your career.
So to your point, it's a little twofold. So I'll start with one about like hustle and grind, right? So you have the people that like get their scholarships and are just naturally gifted and talented.
Yeah.
And you see that and you're like, as a starter in high school or crushing it in travel ball, you're like, that's going to be me. Like I've always grinded and busted my ass. And then sometimes you're faced with this adversity when you're a freshman or even throughout your entire college career where like you aren't the most talented person on the team. But if you're not the most talented, like what are you going to do to bust your ass? Like make a statement. What are you going to do? Are you going to take extra reps? Are you going to like stay after practice? Are you going to come early? Like what is it that's going to separate you from the pack for like that moment when someone leans on you and says like, hey, we need you in this moment and we know you're prepared, like you to be that go-to person. So I think like the concept of pressure and how like incredibly talented people handle pressure, but I don't know if they've truly handled pressure because it's always come natural to them versus the person that's always been like back up against the wall and has been pressured their entire life. And I've like found myself in that bucket with softball because interestingly enough, like I was more gifted at field hockey than I was at softball. I didn't find that out until like later point in my life, but it was always a grind for me. Like I was always fighting for a position. So I think like that's one part of it. It's like you're always up against something. There's always an element of competition. And then the second part is like the sport of like softball and baseball in itself. You are always failing. Like I'm always falling on my ass. You're striking out more times and like you may or may not be getting on base. Like home runs may come easy, they may not. Like dingers fly in here and there, but like you succeed 1 out of 3 times and you're in the Hall of Fame. Like that's the MO, and you've heard that your whole life too. So for me, like that translated naturally into like sales and biz dev, where I'm getting a door slammed in my face all day long. I'm getting no's all day long. Well, fine, like, thank you, next. Like,
Yeah.
if it's a no, all right, great. I'm gonna get to a yes. And like, it's that one element of success, or that one home run, or like that one dinger that like gives you that life to keep going.
You nail it there. That's
It's like,
really
damn, I just had like a drought for like just straight whiffing for like 4 games, but like game number 5, I come in and just hit like a bomb. Like, we're good.
I
We're back in the
absolutely
game.
I absolutely love it. And I think you nailed it too, because even a conversation I had with, somebody who I don't want to say I have a mentor relationship with them. I'm a 26-year-old kid trying to figure it out. I think I just share my story and people like to share theirs with me. But a conversation I had earlier today was this individual just started with the Dolphins in a sales role. And, we're chatting about like different ways to get ahead and, separate yourself from the rest of the pack. And I said, listen, if you're going to go, we were talking about selling B2B, right? And of course, I came from like, I jumped right into B2B head first with the Jets. I had to learn like overnight, terrifying, but a lot of fun. But I said to people, I said, fall in love with no. But not only fall in love with no, get to the no's quicker, because
Yeah.
you're just gonna fly through no's. So I said, by the way, the quickest way to get a no out of somebody is build a genuine relationship with them, because they're gonna say,
Transparency.
listen, Ash, this isn't it. It's not really for us. How else can I help? Right? Because there's so many lesser people who would just string you along, string you along, string you along. Good people are gonna say, listen, it's not for me. What's next?
I think there's also a difference between like settling for a no and being afraid to ask the tough questions. Like, there
Yeah.
are so many people that will settle for no, but also didn't do the due diligence to pry. Like, did you pry? Did you get all the answers you need? And then did that lead you to no? Or are you too scared to ask those questions and you settled for no? So I think I wish I caught on to that. Like, I caught on to it, thankfully, like earlier in my career, but like, if I could have caught on to it even earlier, like, that's my number one go-to piece of advice for folks in sales right now.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that, because, well, after you said it, it makes sense, because you've been there. I have really struggled to ask those questions. Like, in the meeting, perfect prospect, they're begging me to ask to close, and I just don't. And I'm like, I walk out of there, I'm going down the elevator, I'm like, what did I just do? I had it in the bag. That's really interesting. Great piece of advice. I want to ask him a side question. Last thing on the softball and baseball topic. I have like incredible stories from back in the college days, but the thing I remember most are like the crazy workouts. Like, just, I want to know if you have any like nightmare horror stories of like workouts you had to go through in the middle of the night, or like at 6 a.m. Do you have anything that comes top of mind?
I think the problem is I still do those crazy workouts.
That's right.
And like, and maybe my workouts now are even crazier than they were in college. But I do have like one like horrifying story that still sits with me every day and every moment. Like, I put a helmet on my head, I think about this moment. Freshman year, it's probably like our first or second week into fall practice, and we're going through all of our signs. So we have coach at the third baseline, and we had the most difficult signs like in the game. It was like head, shoulders, knees, like do a circle, twirl around, and like, oh, that actually, by the way, means nothing. So pay attention to the next set of things. And we had gotten in trouble for something. So he lined us up on the plate because he knew everyone was like doing a shit job at figuring out what signs were so far. So seniors are going, juniors are going, you start getting to the sophomores, and like people start messing up. You start getting to the sophomores a little bit more people start messing up. Coach starts getting pissed off. Of course, like, I'm like the very last freshman at the end of the line to go. And just before me, he goes, that's it, the next person, and this is the sign. You don't want to know what's going to happen. I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, no. Okay. So I step up to the plate. I don't even know what he did. I blacked out. And it definitely wasn't bunt. I can tell you that.
Oh, no.
I go to lay down the bunt, and I'm like, and I just see him throw his hat across the field. And he's like, Ainbinder, pulls. And I'm like, God. So I go to jog down. I go to take my helmet off. He goes, no, keep your helmet on, hold your bat. I had to run poles for an hour and a half with my helmet on and my bat, basically until the end of practice to be summoned in when the sun was coming down.
Oh my Lord. Yeah.
Needless to say, I will never miss a sign ever again in my life.
No, that's totally fair. Um, no, that's absolutely fantastic. I think back to like, I just remember, like in the fall, we'd have the 6 a.m. like lifts or something out on the track. And we went to playing baseball or softball. By the way, people don't realize in the Northeast,
Oh
you're
yeah,
starting your season at the end of February. There's snow on the look. It's the end of
it's
February
snowing.
now. Welcome to college baseball in the Northeast. I just remember being
Dreamland.
out on the track and we were doing like relay races, but like we had to lunge backwards around the track, and then the next lap was like carrying 45-pound weights, and then I'm just like, who even thinks of this stuff, man?
Yeah, I remember there was actually this, I used to come back and like work out with the wrestling team in the summer, just like train and get my cardio up. And there was one workout where you're basically like partnered with whatever weight class was with the wrestling team. And I remember there was a workout in the summer where you had to basically carry someone and do stairs around the entire stadium with that person on your back, and then also push them on the sled to go back and forth. And once you got through that entire round, then you would flip, and then that other individual that was just carried for that entire workout would now carry you and do that entire workout.
Okay, you lost.
It was rough, but
as soon,
the psycho in me kind of loved it.
I get it. I get it. As soon as you lost me, as soon as you said carrying somebody on your back doing stairs. So that's wild. Very cool. So transitioning a little bit more toward, I guess, the less fun stuff, but definitely the good
That's
stuff.
cool.
Listen, so you've already had quite an extensive resume with a variety of sales roles, from selling group tickets for the One World Trade Center to premium sales with NFL On Location to Tulu, which is a wild company that we connected on in the cleaning and sanitation space, and now even, of course, your newest venture with Clear. You have done it all, right, in such a short amount of time, and I want to kind of touch on something that's pretty prevalent recently. For the young professional today, you see individuals moving from business to business way more than you saw, like, what our parents were doing, right? My mom or my dad, they worked for the same company their whole life, right? It's just like that's how it was. So, how have you successfully navigated through all these challenging industries, and how have you been able to separate yourself from the competition along the way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a little bit of a dynamic answer. I think like in sports and entertainment, you think it's an environment that's like always on. It's 24/7 and things are ever changing. So I feel like a lot of people are capitalizing on that change, and how can they be the leaders in the space to like be the first to do something and be the ones that the headlines are written about and not being the one reading the headline. I think that provokes a lot of movement, specifically in the sport and entertainment vertical. Like when I was in undergrad, for me, I thought I wanted to be an athletic director. I was like, gung ho, I'm going to be the next AD at UCLA and no one is stopping me. So organically, my mentors became, my AD and other ADs as well. And when I got down to USF, like I just realized that like the college space wasn't for me, but I knew I loved the relationship building side of IMG and partnerships and like being that solution based individual. I also think a lot stems from like trial and error. So it's a lot of like finding things you're passionate about, but also finding things like you don't like to do either. Like I can say that there are a lot of things that like I love to do and I like to do, but when I started to narrow down that list and say like, I sure shit don't like doing that. I don't like doing this, not passionate about that, but like this gets me out of bed and gets me going. I think more folks now are vocal about what they're passionate about, and they're more willing to take a risk. Like especially in a market like right now where, given COVID and everything, like a lot of things are just unstable and no one knows what a future looks like at their current company or next company. And like, now's the time to get uncomfortable, like, cause everyone's uncomfortable. So why not, like, if you're afraid to be uncomfortable, why not take a risk while everyone's afraid to be uncomfortable? Like it sounds so like contradicting and wild, but we'll get to it, I'm sure, a little bit with like the token CEO stuff as well. But when I get asked this question, it's just about embracing being uncomfortable. And when I went from place to place, like from from legends to On Location to, you know, the next role and the next role. It was something that was brought up in conversation the other day. Like it was never a matter of leaving something because I wanted to escape it. It was always a matter of capitalizing on a new opportunity to add tools to my toolkit. So like I learned something at OLE and I had incredible leadership. Like I want to continue working for really great people, but like now I want to sell at a higher level and like touch different things and be a part of different opportunities and different events. So each one of these organizations, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have just incredible people to work for. And that's always been a core value of mine is like, you work for great people, you know, they'll put you in the right direction and hold you accountable. And then with that just opens up doors to be able to guide different opportunities for yourself, like make a name for yourself internally, do the jobs that other people don't want to do, and start carving that out for yourself and you'll make yourself a role.
Yeah, holy hell.
It was
again,
a lot.
a lot is good and bad. That was the good side of it. You said a couple things, and you know, I think you touched on one thing, and it made me think because I have a bunch of conversations every day, and people are like, "Oh, Dylan, you're so lucky to have like found your calling like so early." I'm like, lucky? I just went and crossed everything off. You have no idea how unlucky I've been, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm only lucky on the surface because hell, I earned it, right? And you know, I had trouble saying that for a long time, but you know, it happens.
But at the same time, like you make your own luck. Like you
Yeah.
put the work in to guide you to this path. Like there was a lot of stuff you had to go through that probably sucked. And like now it's paying off. So
Yeah.
I think it's paying off. It looks like it's paying off.
That's exactly how I feel. Everybody's like, oh, I feel like I'm crushing it. But then I'm like, well, really, what do I have to show for it yet? I'm like, it's coming, but you know, whatever. I see exactly what you're saying. And you said one other thing too. And it's like wanting to add to your arsenal. It's like, you know, I did the same thing. I had a really unique opportunity early in my career as a 24-year-old to go manage a ticket sales staff. And I said to myself, well, hell, you know, first of all, I'm a little hungover on Mondays when I come in the office still. Like, let's not put other people's careers in my hands just yet. But at the same time, you know, hell, I hadn't been able to, I've never sold a single B2B ticket before that day. And so how could I go manage a ticket sales staff when I've only really done one side of sales? So I was like, hell, let me go try this Jets thing and try and sell a suite. You know, never did it before, but I got uncomfortable. You know, like I jokingly say, I was in the city with, first of all, I grew up a Jets fan. I'm out with the players and the coaches and all this stuff. I'm like fanboying so hard. But, and then they come up to you and it's your time to like have an intelligent conversation at the bar. And you're just like,
I love lamb.
I really here right now. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. I want to hit you with some rapid fire questions. I do that with every guest. Do you mind if we just like nail you with a couple?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Here we go. Really quickly. Favorite sports teams?
Go Bolts. Let's go Lightning.
Okay. Do you have any other favorite teams outside of them, or you just?
I mean, Jets and Mets, but like I have a Stanley Cup, so I have to just lean that way a little bit right now.
All right. Love it. Next one. First drink you order at the bar?
Moscow Mule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. I'm so boring. I'm like the beer. I like give me a beer. I'll start with a beer. Can I get a Budweiser, please?
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Big Daddy.
Oh, you were ready for that one.
Oh my God. It's tough. Like it's Big Daddy, I will always watch. Doesn't matter, day, time, don't care. But like Forrest Gump is a close second. But like I need time. I need time to process that. Like you can't just watch that.
Forrest Gump is my favorite movie. And like if I see it on television, I don't care if it just started or if it's 15 minutes from the finish, I have to finish it.
Have to watch it. You have to.
And unfortunately, it's the same way with Titanic, and that's a 4-hour movie with commercials. So, best pizza you've ever had. Now, listen, you're from Long Island. I know that's a whole separate game out there. Do you have a pizza? Are you in this game?
My gut says like there's no such thing as like bad pizza. That's what my gut wants to say.
That's a great answer.
I've been dabbling in like the artisanal pizza game.
Okay.
So like there's some like local spots. So I'm over in Long Beach on Long Island. Honestly, Bricks and Barley, their pizzas, they'll to-go pizzas, top notch.
I'm writing it down.
Do it.
Bricks and Barley. You think, has Portnoy been there?
He's been next door.
Okay.
To Gino's.
Portnoy, get over to Bricks and Barley.
But like, I'll tell you, Bricks blows it away.
All right, I'm writing it. It's on my list. Very cool. Favorite subject in school? I always find this one interesting.
High school or college?
Give me both. One or the other, doesn't matter.
College was painting 101.
Oh yeah.
Fun fact, I drew a self-portrait like my first week. Painted a self-portrait my first week. I think it's still in like my parents' basement or something. It should definitely stay there.
Are you? Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, are
I'm
you
not
artistic?
good? No.
Okay.
I'm like now the paint by numbers person. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good learning experience.
That's fun.
High school was marine biology because I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist, but then I got introduced to chemistry and took a hard left turn on that thought.
I don't even blame you. Chemistry was my absolute worst subject. Last one. First thing you're doing when this pandemic is over, officially over, and we can all let our hair down. What's the first thing you're doing?
I am getting on a plane and doing the trip that I was supposed to do last year to backpack through Chile and Argentina and go through Torres del Paine, like their Glacier National Park. Another solo trip.
There you go. I gotta start. I might ask my wife if I can do these solo.
Listen, I'm telling you, people tell me I'm crazy for doing this, but the most freeing experience is going to a place that is, and this might sound like very hippie of me as well, but going to a place that's completely outside of your comfort zone where no one speaks, like English isn't their native language, like politics, like it's not even like politics doesn't matter, but like everyone just wants to know if you're having a good time. Yeah. And like, it's such a free experience to go somewhere and like people are just so welcoming and just like, I don't know, it's something you just have to do.
Have you read Matthew McConaughey's new book, Green Lights?
I've heard multiple times that I have to read it.
Well, everything you just said, he says in that book, he basically, it's his life journals. He cracks open his journals for the last 30 years and he's gone and disappeared for 50 days in the desert. And, he does all that kind of stuff.
If I can do that, I would.
I know you would. And he says it's the best thing ever. I can only imagine. I got to get in the gym.
I'll write you some workouts. I got you.
Please. So Ash, let's talk Token CEO. Let's talk Erika Nardini, the LinkedIn group, everything. Give the people an idea of what we got going on there.
All right. So Token CEO. I mean, Erika started the podcast obviously last year during quarantine.
And Erika, sorry to interrupt you. For anybody who's not familiar, Erika Nardini is the CEO of Barstool Sports. Sorry, Ash, go for it.
No. You're good. You're good. Started this podcast in the middle of quarantine. She didn't know where it was going. Listeners didn't really know where it was going. We were just along for the ride, and it was relatable content that I think we all connected to, no matter what industry you came from or where you work or where you went to school or where you were in the world. Fast forward to what grew into hundreds of people becoming listeners to this podcast, and Erika deciding to put like an official Zoom call together for all the folks that were on the subscriber base. That Zoom call happened, an idea got brought up, say like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we have like some sort of a mentor group? And we already have like a Facebook group going where we have a bunch of different discussions going on. And I was like, damn, yeah, that'd be a really cool idea. Like obviously there's a good chunk of people on here that have LinkedIns and things like that. So it might be a good idea in a means of just easing communication, to get all these folks in a LinkedIn group so you can understand like who's working where and how we can connect with one another. I got with two other women that are actually in the group, Ash Berger and Ellie Bloat as well. And we got together and we're like, we don't know what we're doing either, but let's just run with this idea and see what happens. We put out a submission form that asks a couple questions like name, where you're from, where you went to school. Erika's podcast on like Thursday, it's like one fucking good thing for the week. So it's like one cool fact about you that we should know. And then also like why you want to be in the group. Like, I feel like a lot of networking groups, and I'm sure you've experienced it as well, going to like conferences, like you're around the same people talking about the same stuff all the time. And for me, I'm just like, I feel like it's a job and it's a hassle. It's a chore for me to have to go to these things from time to time. And you're hearing the same conversations over and over. And then on the flip side of things, like you always get like those circumstances where you're like, all right, I don't know anyone here. I'm flying solo. Like I'm going to try and like latch on to like my buddy in the conference and like see where it goes. And maybe you pass out some business cards and you hear from someone in a week and that's it. So like, how can we create a platform that's more engaging to give people an opportunity that they may or may not have had outside of this space to connect on a deeper level and just like build relationships? Because like the relationship is what's going to drive all the other conversations. So we had this form, we had like 115 people submit the form in like 2 weeks, which is crazy. We're like, all right, let's organize this thing. So I found that like in other mentor groups I've built, like doing one-on-ones can be kind of odd because like, let's say you and I are paired together and like our personalities are different or like it just doesn't click and mesh. I'm like, okay, great, it fails. Like,
not really clicking, by the way.
Yeah.
Ash. Me and you.
It's we should just stop this right now. No, but you have those circumstances and it just becomes like a lot to kind of manage. So what I found works best is we broke it out into groups. We had 18 groups to start. So 18 groups of 6 people, 2 of which were that raised their hand to be mentors, 4 that were mentees or wanted to be both, whatever it may be. From there, we have 1 group leader for each one to facilitate conversations, meetups, topics, things of that sort. And for us, it was like, you know, we don't want to be like the kings and queens of saying, you have to do this for your groups, you have to do that. It's like saying, hey, here's your group. Go in, figure out like what makes this thing successful for them, what makes it fall on their ass, and take it from there. Like we'll help facilitate these conversations and organize things to come together. And we'll tweak some things via feedback from you guys, but like, we want you to own it. Like, if you don't want to be here, like you don't have to be here. It's as simple as that. Like it's something where we're finding a niche for people to grow professionally and personally too. I mean, like I know with the first meetup call that I had with my pod, you know, I asked like, you know, do we want to talk about job stuff? Do we want to talk about mental health? Do we want to talk about relationships? Do we want to talk about different industries? Is someone trying to change jobs? Who can I introduce you to that will help you get there? Or who do you want to know? Or what can you learn? So it's just asking the group again, what makes this successful to them? I think as we've grown these pods, it's been really cool to see. We now have 40 pods.
Is it at 40? I was going to say, I think
we are at 40 pods as of last week. We just did like the second round of submissions and we organized everyone out and have all the group leaders out. 40 pods. So we had like 130-ish more people sign up. So there's over 200 people in this thing now. And now we're doing like pod meetups. We're having guest speakers come in. Last week, it was like my pod and another pod met up and we did a workout to start off the pod meetup. So it was all about just like how daily movement can affect like your energy levels throughout the day and like building routines and mental health and how all these things come full circle. So it's been really cool to just like get to know people virtually because quite frankly, there are some people in this group where I'm like, you guys are my rocks. Like you guys are like quickly becoming like close friends with me and I've never even met you and all I want to do is shotgun a beer with you.
I love that. We'll have to talk about letting our hair down whenever all this is over. I want to touch on a couple of things. You know, I think first of all, it's unbelievable. It's over 40 different pods, groups. I'm gonna look back and say I think I was one of the first 18 group leaders. So I'm like stoked about that because I think I see this just growing and growing and growing. And there's a reason why, because everyone's on the same page. And what I mean by that is everybody's here for the same reason. We want to connect. And the way you kind of set it up, you and the other girls running this, really fascinating. You kind of organized it to where you're going to be in a group with 5 other people who don't do what you do. All different.
They're all different industries too. Like there's no hidden agenda. There's no like, everyone is very transparent in this group. It's like, what are you here for? And like, what do you guys want? And how can I help you? That is the go-to question. How can I help you? How can we help you? Like, what can we do?
And that's my playground, right?
I know, that's your MO.
I know it. I love it. As a connector of people, I'm just telling everybody, like with the cross pods, which I love, cross poddinating. I don't know why that has hung around.
Yeah, I love it.
But no, it's been great. My group has been fantastic. We did a cross pod. introducing people like crazy. Networking is happening on an exponential level and just naturally. Great people are introducing other great people to their great businesses, and it's just happening naturally, and it's really, really fun to watch.
What's wild is I've probably developed more quality relationships in this pandemic than I have probably the year prior, 2 years prior. And I don't know if that, yeah, I don't know if it's a product of people like craving like that social interaction and like not having it, or not having their calendars as full with like these events that they used to go to, or going out to bars or restaurants and meeting people. But like the quality of relationships that I'm building right now too, I think is tremendously different than it was a year, 2 years ago.
No, absolutely. I feel like everything I know in business and in life, I learned from March 2020 on. Like anything else is just gone. Nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters.
No, it's really, really fantastic, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I think we're next cross potting on March 1st with Liz's group, who we spoke about, and we got Riggs coming in. Riggs from Barstool Golf, and I again gonna be fanboy pretty hard, and I'm just putting it out there. No, it's absolutely insane. You talk about job seekers, what we're finding in just a couple of groups that I've been with, so many people are in transition, obviously, right? New careers, things they've never done before, myself, yourself included, right? Like we need help, and those who are willing to ask for it, they're taking the shortcuts that are right in front of them. For some reason, people want to overthink it. It's like it's always been about who you know.
Yeah.
Right now, more than ever, that's just incredibly obvious. So I think this platform, and I think what Erika's been able to do with this podcast and strip down so many conversations that are needing to be had.
Yeah.
Incredible. And just totally stoked. Hopefully somewhere down the line, Erika will be a guest on DelRo. There's my pitch, Erika.
Yeah. There it is, loud and clear.
So Ash, tell us a little bit more about how somebody can get involved in this Token CEO LinkedIn group if they want to start networking.
Yeah, I would say one, if you're not listening to the podcast already, like that's what we're connected on. So like I've had people ask me like, how can I get involved? How can I get involved? I'm like, great, you can join the LinkedIn group, but like, just know that the basis of his group is based off of conversations that are happening in the podcast. So that's one. Two, join the LinkedIn group. We're going to reopen submissions in a month. We just got through our second round. So I already have people asking again how they can submit their form to be a part of it. So it's really exciting.
No, it really is. And I'm getting a crazy glare from my apartment here, but we'll just have to roll with it. Oh, wow. I think I found my lighting.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Holy hell. So kind of going off of the LinkedIn group here, I'd say it's pretty obvious that you've now well cemented yourself into the Barstool culture and the business and the individuals there. I'm obsessed with everything about the company for all the right reasons. What is it about that business and their employees that makes them so hard to ignore?
Transparency.
Yeah.
I think there's transparency into every aspect of their business. And to Erika's point, like they're unapologetic about it as well. Like I'm sure there's calculated reasons as to why they are doing the things that they are doing, but like they're not afraid to take risks. And like if they fail, they fail. But if they succeed, like more times than not, recently it's been a big win, and it's been
to the moon. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like this whole concept of like being transparent in what's happening in their business internally, not being afraid to express like personal beliefs from leadership. I think like externally as well. I think, you have to read the room and understand like the kind of environment and business you work in as well. Like for some folks, that's not very easy just based upon like their leadership group or the environments that they are for their current state and their current business. Yeah. But for them, they've just like built a story around transparency, honesty, and risk taking. And I appreciate that. I think like that's something that I have really held on to, like personally. Like it's all about just like going back to the softball and baseball thing and like college athletics. It's about a grind, but if you're not afraid to work and like be a part of that grind, like we'll leave you on the corner. Like, thanks, I'm right off to the sunset.
You mentioned transparency, right? It's the first thing you said, and that's absolutely, in my opinion, the right answer too. Because when you're transparent, when you have nothing to hide, right? I'm launching a business in the fintech space. Okay, that's funny for me to even still say. I'm not the fintech guy, but the reason why I'm going in and it's going to work, I think, is because of the transparency. When you have no secrets, when everything you're doing is available for everybody to see, you can't be canceled, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how could you hate us? I mean, if we do something wrong, we'll pay for it, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, um, no, what an incredible company. So, I'm so excited to see where all that goes. I don't think Barstool or Erica or Dave or any of these people are going anywhere anytime soon. So,
Yeah.
um, all right. So I've been holding off on asking you about your newest career with Clear because I know there's so much we could
All
cover.
good.
Tell me first about your new position there, why you decided to join that rapidly expanding team.
It's a great question. First and foremost, I am obsessed with our leadership team. I think the people that are guiding the ship are just brilliant minds. They have a vision, and what is important is that the resources are put towards that vision, and they're yes people. There's no, it's yes and, or what can we do? Or, that's not a solution right now, but it can be, and how can we get there? And for me, I feel like a lot of times, on the sports side, and you might have seen it too, like you might have these ideas and like the resources or just like the structure of leadership, whether that be like stuck in some traditional mindset, like might not be caught up to that speed. So you're just like stuck in this rut of like, oh, I'm here, but like I want to be here. It's not like that with Clear. It's like you're here, you want to get there. Okay, let's paint that picture. Let's see what that looks like. So I think leadership and that roadmap was really exciting to me. To be able to work for Justin Gurney. I've been wanting to work for or with him for quite some time now. And now I have the pleasure to, so I'm pumped about that. He's just a brilliant mind in the sports space. And you talk about relationships, and that guy is one that loves them. He loves building them. He loves curating them. He loves to be a part of them. And it's really exciting to like be around the kind of energy that he brings to the table. The second part of it is like, when I transitioned to Tulu, there was something about health and wellness, technology, and sports that I was uber passionate about.
Yeah.
And when I decided to move into Clear, I was like, this is exactly where I want to be. Like, I believe so much in their vision and what they're doing in the space to transform a guest experience or a fan experience or a staff experience, that like they're all things that like I have been itching to do on the other side and never had the opportunity to like be a part of that journey of what that looks like.
Can you give, sorry to interrupt you, can you
Yeah.
give them, the listeners, a 10,000 foot view of Clear and what it is you guys are doing in the space?
Yeah, of course. So Clear at its core is a biometric identification company. We use verified identity to access different points in which like a guest or a consumer would go throughout their day-to-day habits. So you think about Clear traditionally, like in the airport model, you've probably seen like the Clear lanes, and traditionally it was utilizing fingerprints or facial recognition technology to identify Dylan is Dylan, and this is Dylan's information. Great, we can marry these two things together.
Right.
When we flip that on its head a little bit and look to what that is in the sports space, they had introduced what's called Health Pass. So Health Pass is an app that lives within the Clear app as well. Health Pass links laboratory tests or health survey information, and also temperature screens and things of the sort to Dylan's account. So in lieu of protecting sensitive information, what we do is show either Dylan is green or Dylan is red to get into Citi Field, for example.
Right.
We're hyper protective over data and information sharing. That's one of our core values, is keeping that protected and making sure that the consumer and their information that they are providing is completely under wraps. And what is shown is only something that's obviously prohibited publicly.
Wow. I mean, kind of like the mind.
I know, it's like it really is like a 10,000 foot view. We have a lot of like really innovative ideas when it comes to like the fan experience, like how we can make that journey from like straight to seat as frictionless and seamless as possible. You think of all these little things about like, how can I have a beer already waiting for me in my seat that the Jets know I go to I'm at every single home game for the Jets, and they know I sit in section 101, row 1, seat 1. Like they know that I drink Bud Light every single game. Why is there not a beer waiting for me already?
Yeah.
And I feel like I've asked that question on the sports side, and now being like on the tech side, it's like, how can we bring that to life? Like, how can we be on this path of making this experience so wildly frictionless for people that like we're anticipating and now predicting and knowing what Dylan wants before he even gets there. That excites me. Like I can go on all day long about that.
No, listen, you could, and I would let you, but really all I needed to hear is that somewhere in the near future, I'll show up to a beer at my seat. And
I hope so.
That's really all I gathered. No, that's absolutely fantastic. I wanted to know, of course, it's obvious you guys are hiring like crazy right now, and I just wanted to know if you wanted to speak to any of the opportunities currently available at Clear.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, there's over 100 opportunities open. I feel like every day I'm getting a notification that there's a new job open, there's a new role, someone's hiring for this, someone's hiring for that, and it's exciting. We look to harbor incredible talent and people that challenge thought and are also on the same wavelength of yes people. They're creative and they think outside the box. We're on like it's rapid fire.
Yeah, no,
I have no words for it. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a pro. I'm a week and a half in, so I'm like kind of a veteran, but it's been really exciting to navigate. It's an incredible culture to be in this far. The people are welcoming beyond belief. It's been a good ride so far.
I'm so happy it's working out. You're destined for big things, and so are they. So I'll definitely be keeping a close eye. I want to know, Ash, what's next for you? I mean, what's next? Who are you looking to connect with? How can I help you? The question that makes the world go around. So what's next for Ash?
I don't even know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
Yes.
It's a good question. I mean, like, for me, obviously, like I'm getting everything squared away with all things Clear. And I mentioned to you a couple times, we're literally like building the house while we're in it. So that's a big focus of mine. I think I'm starting to realize like what passion projects mean to me as well. So everything with like the token CEO stuff and like, how can I continue to build that and make it, helpful for other people as well and be an extension there. It's been really exciting for me. Like where I feel fulfillment is like when I get a DM or someone shoots me a note on LinkedIn saying like, hey, I connected with so-and-so in this group and now I have an interview, or like, I just got a new job and so-and-so in this group hired me. I'm like, this is awesome. Like
it makes my day.
Like, that's what gets me going. Like, that's so like, for me, what's next? I'm just asking like what more I can do, like to help people out in that aspect. Who am I looking to connect with? Another great question.
I struggle with that one.
I would love to get a workout in with The Rock. So if you have any connections,
I'll pull my strings.
This is my shout out. If there are any connections to The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Listen,
I am ready.
I think you just sparked an idea. I want to almost like take the next 2 months and dedicate myself to getting in touch with The Rock. And like, I bet I could do it. Who knows? Anyway.
There we go.
Ash, you are a shining example of, the message I'm trying to get out just in general to everybody I talk to with this podcast, the give first mentality. People ask me and I'm sure they ask you, how did you get here? What did you do? What's the secret sauce? And I will sound repetitive to the day I die. I don't care. It's go find good people, get to know them and help them. That's it. Like they will help you in return. And I think you are going to be doing this for a very long time. I think you have already touched a lot of people's careers. And I think, I don't know. I'm grateful to call you a new friend. I'm incredibly excited to see where our relationship goes. And as you know, if there's absolutely anything I can do for you, you just let me know. But Ash, unless you have anything else for me, I think that was absolutely a fantastic display of exactly what I was hoping for on this episode. So I want to say thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks a bunch. My final thought is just don't be a shitty human and put something good out into the world today.
Absolutely.
If you can do one thing, it is just put one piece of energy of good out there.
All right. Well, listen, Ash, I'm going to go do my good deed for the day.
Great.
You're the best. Thank you so much for coming on. And for the listeners, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys
Thanks
soon.
a bunch.
All righty.
To learn more about Ash, connect with her on LinkedIn. For more information on Clear, please visit clearme.com.